How's it going, everyone? Uh, in this discussion of this lecture, we will be talking about order of operations and algebraic expressions. So this will cause us to start with Pemdas. For some, they notice, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. We're in P's parentheses. But really, it is going to represent any grouping symbol. So we're talking about parentheses, brackets, or braces. There we go. E is for exponents. M is for multiplication. D is for division. A is for addition. And then S is for subtraction. All right, so now when you look at these order of operations, there are 4 tiers of operations that they're to be concerned about. And so what I mean by that is that there are 4 levels. The first thing is parentheses. Second is exponent. Third is multiplication and division. Fourth, addition and subtraction. So multiplication and division, you would do them from left to right. They're basically seen as being on the same level. Same thing with addition and subtraction. You would do those from left to right, which is seen as being on the same level. So the first thing you're looking for when you look at your order of operations or trying to perform calculations with mathematics is your parentheses or any grouping symbols. I think right there, right here. Any grouping symbols, whether it be parentheses, bracket, or braces, your exponents, then multiplication or division, then addition or subtraction. All right, so when you look at a mini example, let's say if I have 18 divided by 9 times 2. Now, if you just go off of the order of your PEMDAS, it would suggest that you would do multiplication first because in the order of the letters PEMDAS, M comes before D. But if you were to do that, it's 18 divided by 9 times 2, which is 18. And 18 divided by 18 is 1. This is actually incorrect. First thing you would do is division. Remember I said that when it comes to multiplication and division, you would do it from left to right. That means if division comes first in your problem, then you would do division before you attack the multiplication. So 18 divided by 9 is 2. And then 2 times 2 is 4. And so the only reason I did that was just to ensure that we understand that just because you come up with a solid number, that does not mean you have the correct answer. So the first thing we would do is division and then the multiplication because the division came first in our problem. All right, so let's try another one. So here we have negative 12 minus 6 times the quantity of 7 minus 5. So first thing we do is parentheses. What's in our parentheses, which is 7 minus 5? That'll be 2. Next, whenever you have something right up against parentheses that implies multiplication, so we have negative 6 times 2. So it's going to be negative 12 minus 12. And then negative 12 and a negative 12 will give you negative 24. So be careful here if you have any problems with sign numbers, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing sign numbers. Make sure you get with me, shoot me an email. I think I have a video already made with that, with just those rules and everything like that. That's something they are expecting you to know coming into the course. So make sure you're careful with that. All right, let's do another one. Here we have 6 plus 48 divided by 4 times -2. Notice this time they wrote the multiplication sign. They can or they don't have to, like we saw in our last problem. But both of them tells us that we're to apply the multiplication operation. So first thing we would do in this problem is the division. Remember, addition and subtraction are the last things we would look to do. So next, so the first thing we'll do in this problem is division. So 6 plus 48 divided by 4, which is 12, times -2. Next move is multiplication. So the 6 plus -24, and then 6 plus -24 is -18. All right, let's go here. 3 squared plus, let's go minus 10 squared divided by -1 minus 4. So 3 squared minus 10 squared minus divided by -1 minus 4. Parentheses, first move to make. So it's divided by -5. Now we have these exponents. So 3 squared is 9, 10 squared is 100, divided by -5. So you have 9 minus 100 divided by -5, 100 divided by -5. What we would do next. So that's a -100. That minus sign is attached to the 100. So that's a -100 divided by -5, which would be +20. Negative divided by negative is positive. And then 9 plus 20 is 29. Do a couple more. Make sure we're all right. So here we have -8 plus 24, minus 3 on the denominator. And on top, we have these symbols of absolute value. So what we would do with this type of problem is that we can simplify the numerator as much as possible, simplify the denominator as much as possible, and then bring those together. So now when I look at my numerator, I have the absolute value of -8 plus 24. So we do what's inside of the absolute value. -8 plus 24 is -6, not -16, but 16. Now these are not brackets or grouping symbols, the absolute value, they actually have an application. So whenever you apply the absolute value of something, the result will always be the positive answer. So the absolute value of 16 is 16. So just quick examples here. Absolute value of -3 is 3. Absolute value of 1/4 is 1/4. Absolute value of -0.7 is is 0.7. So whenever you apply the absolute value, you always get the positive result. The result is always positive. Okay, so we have 16 for our numerator. Our denominator, we have 5 minus 3 squared. 3 squared takes our attention first, so that's 5 minus 9. 5 minus 9 is -4. So if we go back to our problem, that'll be 16 divided by -4, which is -4, excuse me, -4 is our final answer. This was our numerator. This was our denominator. All right, let's do one more like this. Well, one more using order of operations as a focus. So here we have 5 minus 2 times the quantity of 8 plus -7 minus 5. So we have grouping symbols here, and we have grouping symbols inside of another set of grouping symbols. So you do your innermost first, work your way inside out. So -7 minus 5 will be the first thing that we do. So it's 8, and then inside your grouping symbols, -7 minus 5, which is -12. Now still inside of your bracket, we will do 8 minus 12, which is -4. Now we have -2 times -4. Remember, if a number is right up against the grouping symbol, that implies multiplication. So that'd be a +8, and 5 plus 8 is 13. All right. So let's look at the next type of problem that they give in this section. So they want us to write each phrase as an algebraic expression. So whenever you're doing problems like this, there are keywords that will dictate which operation you will use. All right, so for this first one, the product of -6 and x. So the keyword here is product, which means multiplication. So the way I would write this is -6x, or you can write -6 times x. Right there is -6x is the shortest way or the most simplified way of writing that expression. So the next one, p subtracted from 7. Key phrase here, subtracted from. So you just have to be careful with your ordering when it comes to subtraction. You know, writing the 7 before the minus sign or afterwards does matter. So you want p subtracted from 7. So that's going to be 7 minus p because you subtracted the p from the 7. I'm going to write that for you. All right. Next, the quotient of C and D. So the quotient of C and D, keyword here is quotient. Quotient means division. So that's just going to be C divided by D. Next one, twice the sum of y and 4. So if we want to twice the sum of y and 4, we got to be careful here because we want to twice. Let's say if we want to twice, we had the example twice y. let's just say if I wanted twice y, then that would be 2y. But here we want to twice the sum of y and 4. Well, sum is addition. And we want to twice the sum of y and 4. So that would be 2 parentheses y plus 4. So we want to twice that whole sum of y and 4. All right. Let's see. All right, last thing in this section that they talk about when you evaluate. So to give you an expression, 3x minus y, and they want you to substitute in values 7 for x and -3 for y. So you just plug those in accordingly. That's 3x, that's 3 times 7 minus -3. So that's 21 plus 3, because negative to a negative turns positive. And final answer is 24. They give you 4a plus b, and they give you a is equal to 8, b is equal to -52. Plug those in. So that's 4 times 8, which is 32, plus -52. And that answer would be -20. So just make sure you plug in accordingly and then use your order of operations. If you had, if you have, just make sure you're careful with your going back to your absolute value symbols. If you have this, you have to apply your absolute value symbols first. So that'll be a -6. That negative would turn positive. This -6 right here is going to turn into a +6. But this minus sign stays the same or still there. It has not been affected by the absolute value. So this finally simplifies to -6. Now, if you had negative, let's do this like this. If it was just parentheses, then a negative to a negative, like we saw in the last problem, will give you a +6. So you just have to be careful. Those absolute value symbols, matter, and they have to be applied properly. Absolute value of -6 is just 6 as well. Another one another thing you may come across, let's say if you have -3 squared versus -3 squared with parentheses, you have to be careful here. When you're using parentheses, what's being squared is the whole -3. So it's -3 times -3, which will give you a +3. But if you do not have parentheses, that negative is not being affected by the square. So that negative is sitting on the outside. And so that's 3 times 3, which is 9. But that negative is still sitting on the outside. So your result would be -9. So make sure you're careful with both of those and see the difference because a -9 versus a +9 will make all the difference in the world in your calculation as you progress forward. All right. Well, that's it for that section. Let me know if you have any questions. Shoot me emails. If you have any problems with the video, volume wise or anything like that, just let me know. Take care.